I've studied over 1,000 research papers when it comes to testosterone, hormonal optimization, endocrinology. As you can see right here, I have them all lined up here. It's over 1,000 studies. And from those studies, I was able to help clients to get over 1,000 nanograms per deciliter naturally with amazing results. And specifically in this video, I want to share with you the 7 fundamental things that I learned that I think will give you value if you're trying to optimize your testosterone levels naturally. I wish someone told me those things when I started. It would have saved me a lot of time and money. So that being said, let's get into it. So fundamentally, you want to start as righteousness being your foundation, like it is written in Matthew 7:24-27. So your foundation is righteous. And once your foundation is righteous, then you can get into these 7 steps. So let's get into it. So, first things first, there has to be context. A lot of individuals are trying to boost their testosterone levels naturally, but they don't really understand how it happens, why it happens, what does it take for your testosterone to increase, why your body produces testosterone. But once you really get your head around this, it makes it easier. As you can see here, I can show you this. So this is very fundamental, right? Like that, and like that. So when your body is producing enough energy, your body takes LDL cholesterol, vitamin A, retinol, and T3. T3 is the active thyroid. So thyroid hormone produced in the thyroid gland, T3. So you produce T4 here. When you have enough glucose in your liver, because your body knows there's abundance, it's okay for your body to increase the metabolism. Your body converts T4 into T3, which is the active thyroid. So your body takes the T3, and with the LDL cholesterol and vitamin A, within the mitochondria, it produces pregnenolone, and then from pregnenolone, which is here, your body can produce testosterone, right? Vice versa, if there isn't any energy, enough glucose, your body will convert the T4 into reverse T3. So it's the opposite. And remember this point, it's going to come into context when I talk about the next steps. So first things first, really understanding context. Because once you understand context, you're less likely to be deceived when it comes to things that boost your testosterone levels. For example, cold therapy apparently boosts your LH production, which is luteinizing hormone, which is goes in cycle of GnRH from the hypothalamus to pituitary GnRH. Then you have LH and FSH, and LH stimulates your Leydig cells to produce testosterone, right? So you would think LH, more LH equals more testosterone, but in reality it can also mean whatever you're doing is lowering your testosterone, so your body increases LH to get your testosterone to normal levels. So you need to understand the entire context when it comes to hormones. So once you have that taken care of, you will understand the following. You see a lot of guys talking about you need to sleep for more testosterone, you need to meditate for more testosterone, you need to rest for more testosterone. Fundamentally, from working with a lot of clients, it really starts with hypothyroidism. They're not producing enough thyroid hormones, so the entire cycle doesn't work. One of the symptoms of low thyroid is you have low energy production. When you have low energy production, your body can't relax. So there's experiments done on this where, let's say they take dead people. Let me give a different context. So let's say this is your muscle tissue. When it contracts, for it to relax, it needs energy. That's why when you're an individual with lower testosterone levels or you're hypothyroid, you struggle with a lot of cramps. I don't get cramps anymore when I train or anything like that. But when I had low testosterone, I would cramp up all night, constantly, every day. That was a regular thing. I remember one time I was cycling to work, and it was so bad. Halfway through, I had to get off my bike, sit on the street, and everyone's looking at me, and I'm like pretending that everything's okay, but my legs were so cramped up that they were just stiff, and I was in so much agony, and I did not know what was happening. But what was happening was I had really low testosterone levels, and my body wasn't producing enough energy to relax the muscle. So that being said, people who are hypothyroid, they can't relax. And the thing with the dead people, when people die, they become very stiff. And they've done experiments when they take ATP, let's say, which is the currency of energy, and they put it on the skin of a dead person, and the area actually relaxes. So your body needs energy to relax. So people giving you the advice of you should sleep more or meditate haven't really been working with clients or don't really understand context. But in reality, sure, if you're just a guy that everything's all right and you're just purposely not sleeping because you're staying up all night and you have no issues with sleep, sleeping more will boost your testosterone levels. But working with clients, that's not the issue. The issue is they can't even sleep. The problem is they can't even fall asleep. And the reason behind that is because your body actually needs energy to fall asleep. Even with some clients, I actually recommend caffeine, which is crazy to even say. But when you understand context, what caffeine does, it increases your metabolic rate, which is increases ATP. The reason why people get insomnia from consuming caffeine is because they don't have enough liver glycogen storage. So their body spikes cortisol through gluconeogenesis to convert amino acids into glucose that to fuel the body, because there's a higher metabolic rate. And that's what keeps you to have insomnia. But ultimately, when you have enough energy, you can use caffeine any time during the day if liver function is optimal and things like that. But anyway, everything that I'm saying is for you to really understand that the foundation is context, right? So number 2, calories, macronutrients, and nutrients, right? So I've been in the industry for a while, and I'm coming from a place of I'm certified in nutrition and personal training, and that's my foundation. And I'm happy that it is, because when you get into, like, let's say repeat or just hormones or health, no one ever talks about your macronutrient need, your caloric need to maintain your metabolic rate and things like that. Stress is ultimately when there's a higher expenditure of things within your life. Let's say you're getting overstimulated or there's a lot of stress and your body's not producing enough energy to withhold that. That's why people who are in a low thyroid state, they have high serotonin, because serotonin is responsible for governing the energy your body produces. That's why when you're a child, everything is more vibrant and colorful because you have a super high metabolic rate, your serotonin is low, and you can experience reality. People who have really high stress hormones, they're really stressed out, everything's numb, very colorless, very faded, the best way I can put it. And working with clients, the first thing I hear is they feel like they're going through puberty. They feel like this nice sensation. They just feel excited, joyful, and things like that. So that's the context. So the key is calories and macronutrients. You really need to understand how many calories you need per day to consume. The best way you can go about it is your weight in pounds multiplied by 15. That's how many calories you need. And then macronutrients, how many fats, carbohydrates, and protein you need per day. And you follow that and be disciplined about it. When it comes to health, a lot of people don't talk about this because they go by how they feel. But ultimately, if you want to see results, you need to do something for a consistent amount of time to see change, because doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is insanity. So for you to change the variables, you need to measure everything that you're doing, because what gets measured gets managed, and you can change the variables And by changing the variables, you can see what works and doesn't. And once you have the formula that works for you, which ultimately at the start will be very complex, and there's a lot of things that you're doing every day to uphold your health, let's say. And once you've accomplished that, you start removing variables to simplify it, because long term you want something simple that enhances your life and doesn't take over. So number 2 would be calories, macronutrients, and nutrients. What I mean by that is a lot of guys get into very shiny, very like magic foods that they have to eat to boost their testosterone levels. Like, when you really understand context and hormonal context, when you eat a potato, right, which is a polysaccharide, which is a complex carbohydrate, in your body it sits there and it gets digested into a monosaccharide, which is just white sugar, right? White sugar, 50% sucrose, 50% glucose. I don't think that's that, but it's 50% sucrose, 50% fructose. But anyway, forget the shiny objects and find the foods that really work with your body. And they don't have to be some, because a lot of guys get into this and they think they need to spend 50 euros a day on foods because they need to get the very shiny object like foods, like, I don't know, like specific type of cheeses, the blue cheese that's extra expensive, and this type of cuts of meat. But you can really see really amazing results by just eating more white sugar into your diet, by giving your body enough carbohydrates to fuel your body, and then you're activating more thyroid hormone, which increases your respiration, which then there's more Burr and Haldane effects, so you're getting more oxygen into the body, your body's producing more CO2. The more CO2, you're lowering your serotonin levels, you feel more relaxed, X, Y, and Z. But anyway, that's number 2, really actually measuring what you do. The number 3 would be micronutrients. A large portion of the US population are deficient in multiple key micronutrients. So these are just studies. What this study is, so looked at bodybuilders. So when they went on a fat loss diet, within the first 3 months, their testosterone dropped by like 70%. And then for another 3 months, it maintained around 200. When he started eating enough, his testosterone levels went to the right area, which underlines how if you're just you're eating based on how you feel and you're running on stress hormones, that's a recipe for disaster, because when you're running on stress hormones, that suppresses your appetite. If you've ever fasted before, like you go on a fast and you're a few hours in, and then like you get these extreme cravings, you just feel funny, but then like this second gear kicks in and you can go for another 6-8 hours without eating, because now you're running on stress hormones. And context with all of these steps, if you're young and you can get away with things, sure, you can follow different rules, you can fast, you can do those things. But when especially with the individuals that I work with, which like fast, going without food for 2 hours and they're already getting anxiety and panic attacks, this is where these things matter more. So people who liver glycogen stores deplete very quickly, so when they sleep, their liver glycogens deplete. That's why they wake up at night and they can't sleep, whatever. They wake up and they're not hungry, so they're like, I don't feel like eating. They go for a few hours and they just eat when they feel like it. They're going to be in a constant caloric deficit. And if you do that for long enough, your testosterone levels will just drop because you're just running on stress hormones. So measuring what you do is very important. And then with the micronutrients, a lot of guys see a YouTube video and a guy tells you, if you supplement with zinc, it's going to boost your testosterone levels. Yes, if you're deficient. I've heard horror stories of individuals just using random micronutrients and supplements because someone told them to, and they're reaping really bad effects from it. Because sure, if you're deficient and you start using it, you'll feel amazing, but you're just kind of playing Russian roulette, right? So I highly recommend getting it checked out, getting a micronutrient test done, and then going based off of that. Because if you're taking something that you don't need, it can cause more damage than good. It can actually lower your testosterone. So when it comes to micronutrients, you have vitamins, so water-soluble vitamins. So you have your B vitamins, vitamin C, choline. Then you have your fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Then you have minerals. You have micro and macro minerals. Micro meaning things like zinc, copper, manganese. And then you have your macro minerals, which are things like magnesium, calcium, potassium, and sodium, which you can get from salt. So really understanding that. The number 4 would be light. So light being warm versus dark and being cold. They are the two spectrums, right? The reason why you sleep at night is because darkness and cold is a stressor, and deep sleep is a protection against it. Hence why if you have problems with sleeping at night, some of these individuals, they can sleep perfectly fine during the day. They'll have a nap, they'll fall asleep, but when it gets later in the evening, they just can't fall asleep because the stressor is too much for their body. But during the day, it's not cold, it's not dark, so they can fall asleep easier, right? So light. Researchers found that bright light increases testosterone. Depressed men had testosterone of 210 nanograms per deciliter until they were exposed to bright light box daily for 30 minutes, soon after waking up. After 2 weeks of this, their testosterone rose to 360 nanograms per deciliter, which is a 71% increase. So getting as much sunlight as you can, creating a summer-like environment within your body. One thing you want to do is getting as much sun hours per day as you can to mimic summer. So if you're waking up at 2 p.m. and only getting 4 hours of sunlight, whatever, your body thinks it's winter time. And you're back in the days when it's winter time, there isn't enough food. It's going back to the idea that polyunsaturated fats lower testosterone levels because they lower the metabolic rate, and it's not a bad thing, it's there to protect you, right? In a sense of when you're in an environment and it's winter time, there's no fruit, so no carbohydrates, there's only nuts around, things like that. So you'll be eating things like that, which are high in PUFAs, which lower your metabolic rate, so you can sustain you throughout the winter when there's not enough food. The last thing your body is going to do, have a super high metabolic rate when you're stressed out. Likewise, if you were to kill animals around, their fat storage would have high polyunsaturated fats because the environment is indicating that it's winter time. But nowadays, because you can go to the shop and buy a certain food that will make you feel like it's winter time, even though could be you'll be in Spain and it's in the middle of summer. So nutrition is super important. But anyway, going back to this, light is very important. Getting sunlight, incandescent light. If I work on this desk, I have a lamp right here, and it's an incandescent light. It's a specific type of light that mimics sunlight. And vice versa, avoiding darkness and being cold. Then fasting. Fasting ties into the summer versus winter. When you're in a fasted state, when your body produces T4, it's not going to get converted to T3 which is the active thyroid, because you don't have enough glucose within the liver, because when you fast, your liver glycogen stores get depleted. When they get depleted, your body spikes cortisol and adrenaline to produce glucose from the amino acids like your muscle tissue. That's why when people fast for a prolonged period of time, they actually lose more muscle than actual fat. So the T4 gets converted to reverse T3, which is the opposite of T3, so it actually lowers your metabolic rate. And as you can see here, studies showcasing that fasting lowers testosterone levels. Now a lot of guys will tell me, but when I eat in the morning, I just feel tired, I feel better when I don't eat. And I hear you, because I've been there. I intermittent fasted for 4 years because I used to follow influencers, and I thought that fasting was the holy grail and I needed to fast. But the only reasons why I seen benefits from fasting was because my gut health was super poor and the foods that I was eating were making it even worse. So fasting made me feel, it was like a relief because I wasn't irritating my gut and I was giving my gut a break. But what if I told you that you can eat in a way that your gut always feels like it's fasting because you're eating the foods that work with your body? So once you get that right, you feel so much better, because fasting can make you feel amazing, because when you're running on stress hormones, it's called the catecholamine honeymoon. Initially, you feel amazing, you feel high on life, you just want to fast. But after a prolonged period of time, it's more detrimental than anything. Your testosterone levels will drop and things like that. When you're younger, you can get away with it more because your liver health is much better. So you can not eat for the first few hours you wake up because the food that you ate the day before is still in your liver and sustaining you, right? But the more you're compromised hormonally, the less longer you can go without food, specifically glucose. So then we have training. So when it comes to fasting, don't do fasting. Make sure you eat regularly. And if you feel tired in the morning when you eat something like sugar or glucose, it's probably because you woke up in a state of having your stress hormones high. You ate something, it lowered your stress hormones, and you actually feel relaxed. That's going back to the thing I mentioned here. When your body's producing energy, you feel relaxed and good. Then training, number 6. I personally recommend resistance training, strength training 3 times a week in this study. 3 times a week for 4 weeks boosted testosterone levels by 40%, which will tie into fat loss, because the more fat cells you have, the more fat you have around your body, the more aromatase. And as you can see here, testosterone then can get converted into estrogen if you have more aromatase. So it ties into fat loss and things like that. So super important. And then number 7 would be shiny object syndrome. What do I mean by that? I mean that doing random things that give you random results, they're not measurable. Could be things like supplements with gimmicks. Specifically with this example, I'll talk about supplements, like certain types of herbs. Like I remember about 2-3 years ago, everyone was on ashwagandha. And 2-3 years ago, I was saying how bad ashwagandha is. And now people are catching up to realize, if you scroll back in my videos, I made videos about a year or 2 ago about why ashwagandha is bad. Now slowly people are catching up. And I'm telling you, because there's a bunch of other things that people take on a daily basis, these weird gimmicks. 2,000 years ago, the reason why our ancestors had high testosterone is not because they took a supplement, it's because they were removing those endocrine disruptors. They were eating right, they were eating properly, they were getting plenty of light, they were more in nature, they didn't fast, they ate properly, they trained in a way that whatever, doing their craftsmanship duties, whatever it is. But overall, supplements, shiny objects like testosterone boosters, they contaminate your gut a lot. They're very irritating for the gut. When you irritate the gut, you're increasing endotoxin. Increasing endotoxin equals more serotonin. Serotonin lowers your energy production, which equals less thyroid hormone, which equals less testosterone production, less androgens, right? A lot of things is just marketing gimmicks. So they know how to market, they know how to get to you, because they know you want a shortcut, you want it easy, you want it fast. But usually that's the deal with the devil, and they will have long-term repercussions, right? So stop with the different herbs that just make you numb, and just maybe you see some results, but ultimately long-term it's not optimal, and they just waste a lot of money. Like when I started this journey, I used to spend $200-300 a month on supplements because I thought I needed them, and I didn't have money for that stuff. I was like 18, 19, renting a place and making minimum wage, and I had to buy these shiny object foods because I thought so. I couldn't save any money, but I thought I needed to. So I wish someone told me this when I started. I would have saved so much money, so much time, because I genuinely thought I need these supplements to feel normal, because I was brainwashed through certain marketing and things like that. But anyway, this is the video on the 7 fundamental things I learned, and I hope this gave you some value. If you need more help or support, I have a public community that you can join. There's different courses there that you can take part in. There's a community you can ask questions. I do monthly calls. You can get on a call with me and ask me whatever. So I do that once a month. That's how it works. And yeah, that being said, I'll leave it at that. God bless.